Hi there, and welcome to Tradecraft number 3. Feedback. Is it finally time to listen? I'd like to mention that I put these presentations and workshops together not to say this is how it should be, but rather to encourage you to consider the direction of what could be. I absolutely love creating and delivering workshops and training solutions. And the ambition for everything that I do is that I hope that it sparks discussions. I hope it improves approaches, delivers better results, and ultimately becomes a catalyst to the pool of knowledge that's already out there. I also hope that these ideas can transform your success and energy into something that works just for you. Feedback, one of the most powerful drivers of professional growth, team performance, and organizational excellence, which we have right at our fingertips in a moment's mouse click. It can sharpen our skills, introduce us to new perspectives, it can strengthen our presence, elevate results, and when feedback is delivered as an opportunity, it becomes a real professional competitive advantage. So it's the hope that by the end of this session, we'll consider how feedback improves knowledge, confidence, customer satisfaction, and business performance. And I've included a practical feedback template in there for which you can use fairly well straight away. While we go through this workshop, I'd like you to consider these ideas. How you might use online feedback forms and collected information resources as a driver for your business innovation. I'd like you to consider how you might install a feedback loop as a routine into your organization. And if you did, what would they consist of and who would they involve? How to capture and evolve the rise of real-time customer insights, and how high-performing teams within your organization could use feedback as an actual fuel for improvement. So for most of us, feedback is a virtual lifeline, and wow, hasn't Trustpilot become such a significant force? The resource of so many comments and perceptions all being captured in a moment's click, as we said, of a mouse. Being able to access feedback in such a modern stream of information can become an additional opportunity for innovation. For example, comments that suggested how a certain direction in technology could be a crowd pleaser, or the rebuke of so many complaining on AI phone services which affect an immediate response and change. See, feedback has become almost a cornerstone of learning. It improves our ability to converse. It improves our language, our ability to explain ourselves. It expands our vocabulary. And if given the respect, it can be an incredible source of R&D inspiration. And yet for me, feedback can also show how little I know, how I got a direction wrong. It can be the most sensitive pulse check for the details we didn't think was important or that may have been overlooked. I'm reminded of the Overton window. What was once considered radical becomes seen as acceptable. And my, hasn't that window shifted in so many different areas? Also how others perceive a great result or action. Feedback can now help us as professionals keep pace with the changing times, the evolution of trends, the new ideas, the customer needs and wants that seem to be changing almost daily, the new laws and regulations and attitudes. Feedback has quite a few dynamics which can rally and can help professionals understand their business, their teams, their customers, and most importantly, ourselves. I guess we're all used to having the chills when notified of customer feedback, aren't we? We've all had the professional appraisals and the one-to-ones, but I wanted to approach this from a different perspective. For example, when I worked in restaurants, the last task before locking the back door and leaving was to complete the management diary, and we left it on the desk for the opening manager the next day. This would generally be feedback about the trade, anything unusual that happened, what may have affected the guest experience, the weather, any issues or products that needed sourcing. It wasn't until I had my own restaurant that these management diaries took on a whole life of their own. For example, planning a week's roster that we could look back over the last year's diary and review what that week had been like. One could not say that it was spot on accurate, but it was a great start. So what we want to look at today is why feedback matters. Going to have a little bit of a look at the Johari innovation, why feedback improves a business. Great leadership comes from great questions. How to give and receive feedback professionally, when facts become indicators, and also we've included, as I mentioned, a feedback template. So feedback improves performance at every level. For business, it identifies what's working and what's wasting time or money. For a leader, it gives clarity on leadership, blind spots, and accelerates effectiveness. For the employee, it shows exactly which behaviors lead to success. And for customers, it ensures the service they receive is continuously improving. Feedback strengthens trust and relationships. For business, it creates a culture where communication is normal, not feared. For the leader, it builds credibility by showing openness and transparency. For the employee, it helps them feel seen, valued, and part of the mission. And for the customer, well, it builds loyalty because they feel heard and respected. For feedback fuels innovation and positive change. For the business, it unlocks new ideas and more efficient ways of doing things. For the leader, it helps them pivot and adapt their strategies. For the employee, it empowers them to share improvement ideas. And for the customer, it provides insights into evolving needs and expectations. Feedback reduces mistakes and repeating failures. For the business, prevents costly errors and operational breakdowns. For the leader, it allows proactive course correction before issues escalate. For the employee, it helps people avoid repeating the same missteps. And for the customer, it eliminates friction points that so often cause complaints. Feedback creates higher engagement and motivation. Through the business, engaged teams drive better output and lower turnover. For the leader, it gains a more committed and energized team. For the employee, feels valued, supported, and recognized. For the customer, notices improved service from more motivated staff. Feedback strengthens accountability. For the business, it clarifies roles, expectations, and standards. For the leader, it reinforces leadership responsibility for outcomes. For the employee, it shows what ownership and professionalism could look like. And for the customer, they see a consistent, reliable service experience. For feedback supports personal and professional growth. In the business, this is a great way of developing talent internally rather than buying it in externally. For the leader, it helps leaders grow into strategic thinkers and communicators. For the employee, it provides a roadmap to improve skills and confidence. And for the customer, the benefits from knowledgeable, capable frontline teams just keeps improving. Feedback improves decision making. For the business, real data from teams and customer leads to smarter decisions. For the leader, it gains insights that they can't see from their position. For the employee, this is a great way of making better day-to-day decisions based on clarity. And for the customer, these experiences become more relevant and responsive in service. Feedback reduces turnover and attrition. For business, this can save money and retain key talent. For the leader, it builds stronger, more stable, durable, resilient teams. For the employee, they get a chance to stay longer when they feel listened to and developed. And for the customer, they enjoy consistency from familiar, experienced staff. And finally, feedback drives customer satisfaction and business growth. Better service leads to repeat business and referrals. The leader sees measurable improvements in team KPIs. The employee becomes more confident in delivering excellent customer service. And the customer receives a far better experience, which increases what we're all after is loyalty. So one of the areas that we can look at in expanding our ability to understand not only the other person, but we'll transfer it a little bit into understanding our business is Johari's Windows. This is a fabulous template. It's used by capturing feedback to help guide us to build understanding. Because feedback can help us expose blind spots, things we cannot see about our own behavior. So for instance, the first area is the open area, what's known to me and what's known to others. I'm a really bad singer and everyone knows that. Yeah. And then you've got the blind area, what's unknown to me, but known by others. This can be something as trivial as I always seem to forget to say good morning to people after they've introduced themselves, and I might not be aware of that. Hidden area, what's known to me but unknown by others. My passion is Australia and my home, and I miss it dearly, but that's not known by other people. And obviously, the last one is the unknown area, what's unknown to me and what's unknown by others, in what my potential could be, in what skills that I have, in what areas I could actually develop further. Now, this was developed by Luft and Ingram. So to put this into some examples for you, a sales professional believes that they communicate clearly. A manager observes that clients often look confused when they're speaking to this particular sales professional. So the manager gives the feedback so that the professional begins to realize that they actually need simpler explanations and give an opportunity to pause for questions. The knowledge that's gained is clarity, improves client understanding, conversion. We can have a look at another one. So that was straight out of the blind area. So feedback strengthens presence and impact. Presence is how people experience you. Feedback reveals how you actually show up. It demonstrates your perspective. It demonstrates your knowledge, your experience. By delivering detailed and in-depth feedback when required, builds customer trust. It can help teammates align to your vision. It can help you discover what you might not have been aware of. And so we see how this science of Johari's windows can be used by a leader, by a manager, by a supervisor to start to understand more about the individuals that work with inside their teams. So another example, a team leader who sits in the blind area thinks they look calm under pressure. Feedback from peers reveals that actually they look rushed and dismissive during really busy times. Now, this feedback is given back to the team leader, who then adapts an action by focus on slowing their pace and using deliberate breathing before meetings. The results are more composed and credible leadership presence. But what if we were to turn this into a model, Johari's model, into improving our business? There would be 4 steps to this. One, it would be to gather customer feedback. We do that through surveys, interviews, service reviews, complaints, and social listening, obviously. Step 2, we'd fill in the quadrants collaboratively. So this would include using frontline staff, analysts, product owners, and leadership to ensure a full picture. Step 3 is to prioritize actions, which we classify as quick wins and improvements, innovation opportunities. And step 4, we'd revisit quarterly so that the Johari window shifts as does the customer's behaviors. So if we take this a step further and we investigate it, looking at how the open area of Johari's can help us improve our customer service. So the purpose is what's known to us, what's known to the customer, obviously in the open area. The purpose is confirm needs, expectations, and experiences. These are the insights we're aligned to. Now, examples that could include, for instance, stated requirements, features, services customers regularly ask for, common pain points that customers raise, agreed service standards, feedback already captured and validated. We can use customer stated needs. We can investigate that area, how we currently meet these needs, the evidence through feedback, reviews, behavior, and then looking at opportunities to improve. Moving to the next area, the blind area, which is unknown to the customer, yet known to us. The purpose here is the needs or issues customers may not articulate, but we can see through data and our own experience. Examples can include usage patterns suggesting unspoken needs, inefficiencies the customers doesn't notice yet, predictive insights and analytics that show drop-off points, compliance or safety risks that they are unaware of, recurring behaviors that indicate unmet expectations. And the templates that we could use for this is observing customer behaviors, internal insights, risks or opportunities we see, and of course taking what we feel is recommended actions. Which takes us to the hidden area, the known to the customer, but the unknown to us. The mighty holy grail, if you like, of what we want to discover about the customer. So the purpose, the needs the customer have, but do not tell us, either because they're private, forgotten, unclear, or unasked. Examples can include the preferences they assume that we know, dissatisfactions that they don't feel comfortable raising, needs that they haven't verbalized yet due to a lack of trust, and customer workarounds we haven't discovered. Now, templates that we can use to investigate this is insights gained through probing questions. uncovered pain points, latent expectations discovered, and actions that we can use to build trust and encourage sharing. And finally, the unknown area, unknown to us, unknown to the customer. So here is a real purpose for for future discussions. New value creation, needs neither party is aware of until exploration, innovation, or research reveals them. Examples could include new market opportunities, emerging customer behaviors, service innovations customers didn't know were possible, problems that arise only through experimentation, needs uncovered via ethnographic research pilots or co-creation workshops. Template fields that we could use, insights from innovation research, polling, hypothesis about unmet future needs, experimental pilot ideas, and potential for new products. So the idea here is to take the Johari's model that a lot of you are very well aware of and transforming that into something that we can use in a scale to help us develop our business systems and processes and our business customer service. What else could you do? Considering all the templates that you've seen in the past, what could be transformed now to help you gain better feedback? For me, it starts with the great question. These questions that we're going to show you here are very bland and obvious. However, they're designed to be transformed into a conversation that suits you. And as you can see, they also fit nicely into the Johari philosophy to always be expanding the open area. So the first one, what's one thing I can do better to help you perform at your best? Now this shows humility and unlocks real insight. Where do you feel you're doing your strongest work right now and why? This reinforces strengths and self-awareness. What's one barrier slowing you down that we can remove together? Now, this signals support and problem solving. What recent achievement are you most proud of? This helps build confidence and positive momentum. What feedback have you received recently that made a difference? This helps to introduce a feedback culture that seems normal. What skill do you want to grow in the next 30 days and how can I help you get there? Now this encourages continuous development. Where do you feel underutilized or where do you think you could be capable of contributing more? Now this idea is to unlock that hidden potential. What's one thing we should stop, start or improve as a team? Simple, actionable, and collective question. What do you need from me that you're not doing or you're not getting right now? It's direct, it's supportive, it's psychologically safe. And finally, if you were leading this project, what would you change first? Now, this question empowers strategic thinking and ownership. Again, the idea here is to get you thinking about how you would use these types of questions in a conversation that sounds natural and engaging. So how feedback can improve business? Well, feedback increases performance across teams. When feedback becomes a habit, not a reaction to problems, performance rises consistently. For instance, a marketing team reviews every campaign with a structured feedback loop. Each cycle improves message clarity, audience targeting, and conversion. Now, over a year, this campaign effectiveness increases the marketing by 27%. Feedback protects quality and consistency. Without feedback, standards can drift. For example, a training center notices inconsistent delivery from facilitators. A feedback system's been introduced. Peer review and learner comments are fed back into the organization, and trainers are developed further so that there is no variation between delivery. The outcome, a consistent high quality experience across all classes. And feedback can drive innovation without doubt. Feedback from staff and customers uncovers ideas leaders may miss. For example, a customer service team reports the callers are confused by the new automated phone tree. So the company redesigns it, cutting call time by 19% and raising customer satisfaction. The customer impact of feedback. Well, customers experience better service. Feedback reveals friction points before they become complaints. For example, restaurant customers say meals take far too long during weekends to arrive. The feedback leads to changing kitchen workflow and reconstructing the roster, to the point now that service time drops by 12 minutes per table. Customer satisfaction rises sharply. Customers felt valued when asked for feedback. It was very apparent in the restaurant that I had that when I included my customers and in the part of the business where we wanted to improve and took on board their feedback and acted upon it, we made them feel a part of the business, and this developed client loyalty. How could you do that with your business? How could you incorporate your clients' feedbacks and make them feel a part of your business? Because when people feel support with what they help create, they actually build in trust. It builds loyalty. And turning fans into clients is what we're all about. Feedback drives repeat business. Improvement based on customer insights makes the brand stronger, more competitive, and more aligned with consumer needs. And when we see our feedback being acted upon, does that not embody us, even if the product is slightly more expensive? Does it not embody us to stay loyal to that brand? So, how to give feedback professionally? Well, here's 4 steps that you can use to draft up a plan on how to do this. Step 1, observation. Describe exactly what you saw or heard, not assumptions or opinions. For example, in yesterday's meeting, you interrupted the client 3 times. Step 2, impact, why it matters. Explain the effect. When you were doing this, it made it difficult for the client to feel fully explained about their needs and their opinions and what they imagined was a success for them, and it was made them obviously uncomfortable. Step 3, improvement. Let's look at how we can develop a better improvement for this. So we offer practical alternatives. We speak about, well, let's try pausing for 2 seconds before responding to ensure the client's finished. And step 4, commitment. Let's agree an action. Confirm what will happen next. Let's practice this in tomorrow's role play. Simple, basic steps on how you focus the problem between 2 people, not make the problem the person. So, how to receive feedback professionally? My goodness me, can't it be a damaging feeling when you think that you've done a really great job and it really hasn't come out the way that you've got, and the feedback comes back that it really wasn't what success was anticipated. So, stay open, not defensive. Feedback is information on the table. It's not a judgment about you personally. Ask clarifying questions. Can you give me an example so I fully understand? Look for the value in the feedback. Even tough feedback will always contain some area of opportunity to grow. And then, of course, we thank the person. It encourages a culture that feedback is normal, not avoided. At the end of the day, it's all about taking action and following up, because action and implementation shows maturity and a level of professionalism that others will appreciate. So here is a template that you could use. Now we cover this in 5 points. Describe what's happened, what specific behavior was observed. Discuss why it matters, what was the impact on the team, the customer, or the outcome. We demonstrate how the standard or behavior was expected. What does good look like? What will be the outcomes, aims, ambitions? Number 4 is we develop an implementation plan. What should be done differently? And then we decide, agree an action and timeline, what actions to take, resources or support that's required. Because the key is when facts become indicators, they can actually lead us to discovering better ideas, better processes and better systems. For example, Ford's reported that companies who lead in the customer experience outperform their competition by nearly 80%. So how do you lead in the customer experience in your marketplace? Lush saw a 369% return of investment after implementing Zendesk powered feedback and AI tools. According to PwC 2023 Global Service Study, more than 60% of customers will switch suppliers after one poor experience. And I do recommend you have a close look and investigation on Netflix and how they developed and how they overtook and literally closed down Blockbuster videos, which at that stage was considered the foundation and the rock of media for home service. Have a look. I'll let you investigate that and see how they transformed and became the force that they are today. Sales Group AI reports that 67% of customers will provide feedback if they believe it will make a difference. So how can you ensure that your customers know that their feedback makes a difference, that their input is valued? And here's an interesting one. Review Tracker reports that 80% of customers read reviews before making a purchase. So what could you do in your marketing department or in your area of social media in which you could get ahead of those reviews? Now I ask for you for a little bit of help. This presentation would not be complete without capturing your feedback. If you scan the QR code, and it can help me out by completing the 4 short questions that this will lead you to, I'd be sincerely grateful. So for most of us, feedback, as we said, is a virtual lifeline. And what we've covered today is why feedback matters, the Johari window innovation, why feedback improves a business. Great leadership comes from great questions. How to give and receive feedback professionally, when facts become indicators, and the feedback template. I encourage you to visit my website, tradecraft.vu. I'm just trying to build up a bit of interest. I'm hoping to gain employment from these videos. It's why obviously I do them for my own personal or professional reasons. As I said before, I love designing and delivering workshops face to face, traveling around face to face. It's my passion. And I do hope that you have a chance to take something from this. On that website, you'll also find workbooks that I've designed in leadership and management, sales management, project management. Project management's a fairly basic diary style guide. The sales management, I think, is an excellent workshop for a sales manager to help lead and develop his team. And the leadership and management is an off-the-shelf program that any training department or any HR department can use to help embed a standardized leadership development policy inside their organization. Thank you very much for listening.